Good afternoon. This is Dr. Norma Thomas, your instructor for Social Work 636, Organization and Program Development. I hope you've already had a chance to view my introductory announcement and also to view the introductory video on YouTube. It goes over my expectations of you for the class. It goes over a little bit about myself and also how to reach me throughout the semester. Also, please look at Dr. Stephen Kaufman's video, which also outlines this course for the semester, sets it into context, and gives you the information about the fact that the overarching major project for this course is a program proposal. All components of the class lead to a program proposal. In terms of the syllabus, please download a copy of the syllabus so that you have a copy handy. Each week is outlined, giving you the readings, the topics for the week, and the assignments that are due. At the bottom is a whole listing, a whole summary of all the discussion posts and the written assignments that are due. You can see on the right-hand side the weight given to class participation and discussion. That's a discussion post. So when you are required to post and also to respond to your classmates, please do that, because this is overwhelmingly the bulk of the grade for this semester and that final proposal. Going to the modules. Plagiarism. I want to say a note about plagiarism. It's very, very important that if you are quoting work that is not yours, even if it's not direct quoting, please make sure to note the source. For a direct quote, you also have to note the page number. It is very, very important to note your sources for material, and in social work we follow the APA guidelines. So if you have a copy of the APA manual, that's good, but you can also get many resources online. I will say to you that often Microsoft Word does not put citations in APA correctly, so please refer to the APA guidelines themselves about doing citations. I'd like to take us down to the modules. And so for week 1, first we have our introduction that gives you the overview of the course. On your screen, you'll be able to see that whole introduction. The learning objectives are as follows for week 1: to define social service organizations and their functions, to describe organizational structure, processes, and the legal environment, and to analyze the relationship between policy, programs, and organizational function. So for week 1, the learning resources are as follows. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different readings. So the Cornell University one and the Lukert article provide you an overview of what is a nonprofit organization. The Green article, and I'm not sure why it's doing this, but we'll go back to learning resources. The Green article is a good one to take note of, because the reality is in social work, human service organizations, the top leadership, the executive directors, are not social workers. They are often from other professions but not social work. And so it's very interesting that in social work organizations, those at the top are not social workers. So this article covers the fact that good clinical skills and good policy, organizational, and macro practice skills are necessary in order for social workers to be the persons in charge of social work organizations. Also talks about the difficulty of women and other diverse groups rising to the top. In terms of the Internal Revenue Service, this gives you ideas around the role of advocacy in nonprofits. Nonprofits cannot advocate for a particular political candidate, for example, but they can advocate for getting out the vote and getting people registered to vote. So it talks about the rules of nonprofits. The Kaufman article gives a good deal of information around organizational assessment, especially needs assessment and assessing organizations. It's a pretty lengthy chapter, but it's one that you do need to read. Also, there's which you can't see on this screen because I don't know if I can move the screen down. Yes, I can. So week 1 resource to explore is also Higher Ground, and Higher Ground explores the Violence Against Women Act and also illustrates how policy drives practice. So for practitioners, clinical practitioners, what we do in the field is driven by policy. There are 2 discussion posts that are due this week. And hopefully, here's a reminder. And the reminder is that in week 2, the organizational capacity assessment is due. I will be providing an overview video about this assignment, but it's probably a good idea to go ahead and read ahead and start thinking about this assignment. Another thing to start thinking about for this course is you are going to have a final proposal for the class, which means you will need to have a good understanding of some organization, be it the organization you work for or possibly your field placement. But very early on, you need to think about a human service organization from which you can develop a proposal. There are 2 discussion posts this week. The first is to look at a shared case, and this is the shared case of Anita. And you're looking at 2 questions. In a perfect world, what kind of services should be available to Anita and her children? And from what you know from social work practice, what kinds of barriers, issues exist that might limit this family from receiving the services that they need? You need to follow up with at least one of your classmates that someone has not already responded to. And the guidelines for your response are here. Your initial response is due by the end of the day on Thursday, and your follow-up post between Friday and Sunday. So again, please take note of those deadlines. Your next post is a little more complicated. And first, what I will say to you is, in an announcement and also through email, I will be assigning each of you to a partner. This partner is only for this week. We will be switching partners for the next week, but you're going to be responding to a partner. So in this course, we will be spending a lot of time considering the context in which we practice social work. And so this is where I talked previously about having an organization that you want to focus on, whether it's your field placement or an organization you worked at in the past, or a volunteer organization, or a place where you currently work. And so it's your initial post on that organization is for you to name and give the location of that organization, a brief description of the organization, and a brief description of your role. Then with your partner, and only your partner, you're going to look at their organization and then conduct a media and social media investigation of the organization. This should take 30 minutes, but no more than 90 minutes to do. So you can use media clips, you can use websites, but you want to document the official evidence of their online presence. For your post in this forum, you're going to post 2 to 3 paragraphs talking about what you found. So that's your first component, answering these questions. And then you're also going to upload at least 3 pieces of evidence for your response. This can be photos, screenshots, brochures, whatever you can attach. And again, your initial post is due Thursday, and your follow-up post between Friday and Sunday. If your partner does not post by the end of the day on Thursday, let me know. But also, feel free to respond to someone else's post. I don't want individuals to be held up because their partner did not complete their work in a timely fashion. But I encourage you to respond to your partner and your partner only, unless they have not completed their work on time, which means that it's really important for everyone to be responsible. I will be putting those partners list in an announcement, but also posting it in an email. So to talk a little bit about organizations, social work sometimes gets described as having a split personality between direct practice and macro practice. However, being an effective social worker and an effective leader requires us to draw on our direct practice skills and pair them with good organizational skills, especially if we're going to have organizations led by social workers. Organizations are systems. They're composed of inputs, throughputs, and outputs. And they could be nonprofit, which means they're organized for the public, but nonprofits can show a profit. It's just that money has to go back for the betterment of the persons that organization serves. Or they can be for-profit, which means any profit goes to the shareholders. Our current system of organizations goes back to our original charitable organizations that were formed in England, but in the United States there was always a parallel system. And that parallel system was of mutual aid societies because African Americans in particular were excluded from the human service organizations. And so examples are the Free African Society in Philadelphia. So although we have this original structure of charitable organizations based on the English model, we also had a parallel system. Just like clients are assessed to determine strengths and weaknesses, so organizations need to be assessed. Organization served as the mediation between clients and the fulfillment of needs that have been identified. Dr. Kaufman's chapter talks about good organizational assessment requires good clinical skills. These are not mutually exclusive. The purpose of an organization is defined by its mission. And under the mission are the overarching goals, which is what we aspire to, and specific objectives. So we have our mission, we have our goals, and then objectives to determine if those goals have been met. Some organizations go further and have a vision statement. And often all this information is outlined in an organization's strategic plan. Some of you may find that your organizations do not have strategic plans. Out of your mission, goals, and objectives occurs your organizational interventions. And organizational interventions can be things like staff development, could be leadership development, diversity training, resource development, and in our case, resource development includes writing proposals. The Kaufman article also talks about formal organizations and informal organizations. Many of our organizations are arranged in terms of top-down, where the administration is on top and the clients that we serve are listed at the bottom. There are many ways to have organizational structure, some of which are client-centered, where the client is at the top of the organizational chart. There are also formal organizations, which that structure is outlined in organizational charts, and the informal organization, where this is where the power actually lies, and it may not be in the organizational chart. Also, the article talks about a SWOT analysis, and that is connected to strategic planning. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, begin very quickly, and your second post requires you to do this, to think about the organization for which you want to write a proposal. Hopefully, in the end, you have a proposal that is based on an actual need identified in the organization that possibly you can submit for funding. That would be the ideal outcome for the course. But you don't have to have an elaborate proposal, just one that helps you to go through identifying needs and then helping to solve those needs by the development of a proposal. I look forward to reading your posts for this week. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me through email or give me a call. Right now, I'm in the state of California, so we do have a 3-hour time delay if you're on the East Coast, but I will respond to you as promptly as possible. I look forward to working with you this semester, and have a wonderful rest of your week.